I welcome you to the very first episode of Codey's analysis. In this segment of the channel, we'll be doing one of two things. If we are not building a thesis, we are breaking down fallacies. Now, please don't wait until the end to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button.
Slimy. Ooh. Sipping on a monster, feeling like a monster.
Fellow South Africans, in this video we are going to go through why exactly land reform, aka land expropriation without compensation, is imperative or is the root of wealth redistribution in South Africa. Now, a lot of people, too many people, ask, what are black people going to do with the land? They don't have money to farm the land, they don't have money to build businesses, housing on the land, they don't have money for that. Okay, but the thing is, nobody is asking what is land being used for as we speak. As we speak, the land that black people want so much, what is it being used for? It's not being used to farm. It's not being used to build anything. I'm talking about the rural land. Let's get into the stats. So, 80% of the population is made up of black people, African people. So, 80% of the population only owns 1.2% of South Africa's rural land, right? 80% of the population only owns about 4% of private land in South Africa, right? So, private land in South Africa accounts for a third of the total land in South Africa. So, a third of the total land in South Africa. Black people only own 4% of that land. All right, now that we got through that for everyone's understanding, let me go through the fallacies that we have been taught, right? This idea of thinking that land is just either dirt that you farm on or don't farm on, or it's dirt that you either build a house on or you don't build a house on. And it seems like they did a very good job because now everyone believes the exact same thing. Like, in order for you to own land, you either need to know how to farm, you need to have money to build a house, a business, a mall, or something. That is not the case, because these people own this land that you are looking for as a black person. They own this land. They are not building houses. They are not farming on this land. What they are using this land for is imperative for redistribution of wealth, and we shall get into it. So, I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. Guys, land is an asset. Land is an asset. Besides you farming on it, besides you, that is just, those things are just adding value to the land. But land on its own is an asset. Assets have value. And one thing about value in the world economy is that it gives you leverage. Cody, what are you talking about? It's simple, really. Leverage allows you to be deemed low risk when the bank does that very much important risk assessment. When you go and borrow money, when you go take a loan out of the bank, they first need to know what guarantees that you are going to bring back the money. Now, of course, usually they look at your assets, usually they look at your net worth, how much are you earning and stuff like that. Now, land alone is enough for the bank to consider you low risk, because as soon as you default on your loan, they own the land. But we're not going to get on the default stuff. So the basic economics is that once you have an asset as collateral, then banks deem you low risk, meaning that you can borrow money at lower interest rates. Not only that, but you can borrow money more frequently also. Why is borrowing money so important? Well, borrowing money is what runs this world. This world runs on borrowed money. There is no economy on earth that is not on debt as we speak. All right, we move on. Now that you have the land, right? Now that you understand that you can use this land as collateral, right? Because it gives you leverage. You can go to the bank and say that I own 3, 4 hectares of land can I borrow against it? Meaning that if you default on the loan, they take the land. Anyways, what do you do with the money that you loaned? Simple. Nobody loans money without having a business plan. Whatever business it might be, now you actually have the money to start the business. And now that you have this land, let's just say your plan is to build on this land. Even if it's not, let's just say you build on the land. What happens to the land? The value of the land goes up. That value is directly tied to you. So your net worth goes up. Now, as soon as you pay back that loan, all of a sudden you have this land that is worth way much more than it was. What do? You go back to the bank. You have collateral that is way much more than it was before. Now you can borrow way much more than you used to. Now you can use that money to grow your business. Now imagine 80%, or let me just say, out of the 80% of the population, which is African people, imagine 60% of the population doing exactly what I just told you. What that does is it benefits everyone, right? Because all of a sudden now people are running businesses, employment, tax returns, GDP goes up. When the GDP goes up, inflation rate goes down. When the inflation rate goes down, interest rates go down. So everyone in the country gets to borrow money for less. Now, since more and more people will be paying taxes, that means more tax returns for the South African Revenue Services, right? Now, that alone will give foreign investors the confidence to invest into South Africa, the confidence to buy our government bonds, right? Because the return of investment is sort of guaranteed. While looking at how much tax is being collected, that means the return of investment is most definitely guaranteed. And do I need to explain what foreign investment does for a country? More industries, more jobs, more taxpayers, more tax returns, GDP goes up, inflation goes down, interest rates go down, prices go down. And most importantly, inequality is squashed. Okay, so I'm sure by now you're asking, okay, Cody, how exactly are we going to own the land, right? There's land expropriation without compensation, but you know what the disadvantage of that is? The disadvantage of that is it undermines the value of the land, right? So let me just say I own 10 hectares of land. A hectare of land is 10,000 square meters. I own 10 hectares of land, right? And let's just say it's valued at 1 million rands as we speak, right? Now, if you come and take it for free, how much is the land worth? It's free. Like economics says it's free. You didn't buy this land from me. So the value is how much did you get the land for? You got it for free. Okay. So now how do you protect the value of the land? Simple. Insurance. Now, hear me out. The government already has enough money. What is this insurance for? This insurance is to protect the land value. Meaning that if there's 100,000 hectares of land in total, right? And we value it at 1 billion rands. The government will then put aside 1 billion to basically ensure the value of the land, right? Basically saying that I'm not going to be taking this land for free. It is directly insured by this. We're going to call it Land Reform Fund. We are not purchasing the land. Let me just clear that out. We are not purchasing. The government is not giving this million or this. Yeah, the government is not giving this million to someone that expropriated that land. No, we are just tying the value of the land that I'm taking for free to this insurance. Similar to how back in the day, money, the value of money was tied to the value of gold. Now the value of the land is going to be tied to the value of the insurance. Get it? This is simply to ensure that the value of the land stays consistent. Now, most definitely, there's some inconsistencies in exactly what I'm saying. There's some fallacies here and there because I'm not an expert in economics, I'm not an expert in land reform. But everything that I said, I went into deep research, but I'm not an expert and I stand to be corrected. But my belief still stands. This country can never go forward without redistribution of wealth. And at the root of redistribution of wealth is land reform. There can never be a nation whereby a population, or let me just say, a group of people that make up only 7% of the population owns 72% of all private land in South Africa. It can't happen. It cannot, this nation will never thrive. It will never. We will keep on looking up to those minority for advice, for success. Meanwhile, we can just take it back. Sibonge, subscribe, like. I should have told you to like and subscribe at the beginning. Anyways, this is my first video. Tell me what can I do better. Tell me what did I do good. And salute.
Slimy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Bee, 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 bee. Sipping on a monster, feeling like a monster.